everybody, welcome to my channel, The Ready Nurse Nay. I make videos on nursing, healthcare, inspirational related topics. If you do not know me, a little background or introduction: I'm a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse now in med-surg for over a year now. I work at a small hospital, so my unit it's like a combo unit. We do med-surg, tele, oncology, and step down. So we have some pretty sick patients on the floor that I take care of on that floor, on that unit. So that's basically kind of like what I talk about and a little bit about me. In this video, we're going to be talking about a cold gray, how to survive a cold gray in the hospital when you're having to stay at the hospital for several days in a row, sleeping at the hospital, working at the hospital for several days in a row, how to survive it. What is it? How to survive it? This video is kind of geared towards students. So if you don't understand what the cold gray is, and when they're activating like a disaster response activation and you're having to stay at the hospital, how does that look? Maybe new nurses, if you haven't experienced that, or also anybody in healthcare who are just want to hear my story, my experience with the two code grays that I have experienced at my current job within the last year or so. So first thing to note, I got my notes here, so I'm looking down, is what is a cold gray? Cold gray is basically a code for like really bad weather, you know what I'm saying? Bad weather. And each hospital has their own kind of protocol when it comes to bad weather, and their activation team, recovery team, whatever. Activation team is going to go in there and work through the bad weather, and recovery is going to come in and work after the bad weather to give the activation team a break. And that's how it is in my hospital. Each hospital will look different when it comes to their protocols and their structure when it comes to working during like bad weather, and how they prepare and how they recover. It's gonna look different. But this is just coming from my experience from the hospital that I work at. So anyway, that's what a cold gray is: bad weather. So when there's bad weather at my facility, they automatically activate an activation team. So we have a team A, which is activation. They're going to go and work during the bad weather, and team B, which goes in and recovers and works after the bad weather has cleared, so that the team A can go home and rest. And then once they end the cold gray, is basically when the normal schedule resumes. So in my case, yeah, that's basically what it is. So for my experience, I've experienced two within my year of being a nurse. The first one was only 24 hours. We had to go in at 12 p.m. one day, sleep there during the day, and then I work nights because I'm a night nurse, and then we were able to get off at 12 p.m. the next day. And it was like a hurricane, because I'm in the South, I'm in southern USA, so we have the hurricanes and the storms and those sort of things. And so that was my first experience. We were assigned a room. It was three of us, three healthcare workers, in this small little room. One person slept on the couch. I slept on the couch, and it was super uncomfortable. I could not sleep at all. One person slept in the bed, and one person had an air mattress on the floor. We basically showered, got ourselves together, slept, and then worked that night, and then got off, slept, and we were able to go home. We were released at 12 p.m. the next day. That was my first one. Was the end of 24. This next one I experienced was beginning of 25, because we had this historical snowstorm here in the South. And the second one that I experienced, I did not like it. Point blank, it was not the best experience, because I basically ended up working. I was there for 7 days and 6 nights in a row. And I am one of those nurses, I do not work overtime. I don't. That job, it's a hard job. Bedside nursing is a hard job. I'm still young, but nursing is still a hard job, and it will pull from you. It don't matter what age you are. If you're in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, it don't matter. It will pull from you, because it's a hard job. So I don't work overtime. I don't. That was my first time kind of working mandatory overtime at that job, because they activated the cold gray and I had to be there. So for me, I basically worked my 3 in a row. They activated the emergency response team, and I had to work basically almost 4 more in a row. Okay, so I essentially was at the hospital for 7 days and 6 nights. I got there on a Friday, let's say around 5 p.m. and I could not leave until Thursday after 5 p.m. Okay, so it was long. There was some issues with sleeping arrangements. You know, we were being disturbed during our sleep to be moved into other rooms. There were issues with with admitting and discharging of patients that should have been discharged were still there, and they were admitting some patients. There was call outs, people who didn't come in, so that made the individuals who were working there have to work harder. We still had high acuity patients. I still had high acuity patients. Afterward, I was just drained. Like, I basically was working 6-7 days in a row. I don't do that. And not to mention, in the process of doing that, not being able to go home, having to stay there. And so emotions were high, you know, people were in their feelings. They kept us so late on the last day because if the next team did not show up for their shift, they were saying we would have to stay the eighth night and work an 8th shift, which I think is horrible because we were so tired. But that was the protocol. That's the protocol at the hospital I work at. So yeah, it was an experience. I honestly don't want to ever experience that again. I never want to work 7-8 days in a row, ever, as a nurse on the bedside floor. I never want to work. I know there are some nurses who work 13s in a row, take a break off, be off for days and then work again, but I'm not that nurse. I think you have to know yourself as a nurse or a healthcare professional. If you are the one that can power through working a week straight to be off for 8 days, good for you. That's great. That's not me. That's not me. I work my 3, I give my all of my 3, and then I'm off and I go home, okay? And I give myself to my family, my friends, my loved ones, you know, that sort of thing. You know, my hobbies, my son, my husband, like that sort of thing, okay? So know the type of nurse you are. But the tips I'm going to give you is how to survive this. Like, how do you survive being in the hospital for all these days and nights in a row having to work? Like, you go delirious a little bit. Like, we were sleeping in patient rooms, basically. Like, so, I mean, when people were pooing, my patients were pooing, I could smell it, okay, through the door. You know, when people are coding or whatever, or their little monitors and stuff are beeping, I can smell and hear those things. So how do you survive that, right? So part of the first part of the tips is going to be just kind of like mental advice to get you through. And the second part of the tips is going to be more like actual things that you can bring to get you through it. So first set of tips I'm going to say, it's just knowing that it's temporary. You're not going to be at the hospital forever. Eventually the code is going to end. You're going to be able to go home. So keep telling yourself to kind of like mentally, I'm going to be able to go home eventually. That helps. Next thing is that get out of the hospital if you can while you're at work. So I know you're working, you're stuck there during this cold, but if you can get off your unit and walk around the hospital, if you have a garden or something, or you can able to walk outside or sit outside, it can kind of help to like break up a little bit of that work mode vibe because you're stuck there for days in a row. I think it can help. Like, better just being in the wall, staring at the wall, listening to all of the stuff going on. Just get out of the hospital for a little bit, walk around, clear your mind, say a little prayer, and then going back in there, do what you gotta do. Also knowing that this is a part of most hospitals' protocols. Because hospitals run 24/7, they do not shut down. The only way that they can ensure that employees are there to take care of patients is to implement protocols, code, gray, activation team, recovery team, because if not, nobody would come to work. I don't want to be at work if it's bad weather and I could be at home with my own family. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to do that. So most people don't want to. We do it because we have to, and that's part of our job. Most hospitals have that protocol in place. So if you're a student or whatever, or you've never experienced this, just get ready. If you're working bedside, most hospitals, they have to have this. That's the only way they will have people there to take care of the patients. So it's kind of like an unfortunate thing of our consequence or whatever, our requirement of working as a bedside nurse in the hospital or a healthcare worker in the hospital. And then also just knowing that there's consequences if you don't show up. So like, whether the consequences are real or just a threat, most times there are consequences if you don't show up, because like, if you don't show up, then the individuals who do show up are going to have to work harder to account for you not showing up. So it's just something to take aware of. Next are going to be tips, like actual physical things that you can do to make your stay in the hospital a little bit like better. I can't imagine working during COVID and having to work 14 and 15 and 16 days in a row. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could not imagine having to do that. Like, the abuse I feel like that a lot of healthcare workers had to endure during COVID, you know, working all these days in a row, or fear of being fired and stuff like that because it was mandatory. I couldn't imagine that. Like, I really couldn't. There's not enough money for me to put my life in danger or feel like I'm putting my life or my family's life in danger, especially for some place that's forcing me to do something that, or in not providing the equipment, because a lot of hospitals during COVID, they was running out of equipment and reusing PPE and stuff. So it's like, I couldn't imagine being in that type of situation. So I will say, at least at my facility, we were provided for, we had resources and staff. It just wasn't fun to stay there. Yeah, we had some little kinks or whatever, things that could have went better, you know, like sleeping arrangements, assignments and stuff. But for the most part, like, they provided us with meals. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Regardless of the quality, they provided us with food. We had a place to stay. You know, some facilities, I've heard horror stories of nurses having to sleep in the hallway, having to sleep on the floor in chairs, them not providing food for them, you know. So like, my facility actually did pretty well. I give them the props on that. Okay. So physical things, tips to survive. Bring a phone charger. Everybody use their phone for everything. So bring a phone charger if you are being stuck in the hospital. Air mattress and linen. Sometimes you're able to use a bed, but you never know. If they don't have beds, you might have to use a chair or a couch or something. So just on the safe side, bring your own air mattress and linens during cold grays. Towels and bathing products. So like bringing your own towels. Yes, the hospital has things available, but it's mostly for the patients, not really for the employees. So like, bring your own towels and bathing products so that you can be comfortable and sleep well when you're in the hospital during these cold grays. Also things, any clothing and extra scrubs. You're going to be staying there. So bring all those things that you need to comfortably stay there, sleep, shower, to be able to rest, and then also do your job. Bring all your essentials. Next thing is headphones and earbuds. The hospital, if you're staying in the hospital, especially in the patient room, it can be loud. It can be loud. You can be staying with, sharing a room with multiple coworkers. Somebody might snore. Somebody might, you know, be on their phone. Somebody might be moving around. You're hearing, you know what I'm saying? Lots of noises. So bring your headphones or earphones. You can pop them in, listen to some relaxing music while you sleep, some waves, beach sounds or something like that. And it'll kind of block the noise out to help you sleep in the hospital setting. Other thing to think about is food. During this snowstorm, basically, like, we didn't have access to any outside food because the roads were cut down. It was snowing so much, they actually had like a city mandated curfew. Like, they didn't want you driving past like 7 p.m. or something like that. So it's like, in those instances, especially when with the night shift healthcare staff, you need food. So like, bring your own food. And what I did, I brought sandwiches. I also brought snacks and stuff like that to help. Other things, entertainment, books, movies, journals, that sort of thing, just to keep you entertained. And just biggest thing, knowing that it's temporary, and then you'll get through it. Peace, love, and blessings. I hope this was educational and informational and fun for you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.